This is the all-new BlendOS, and it's a new next-generation operating system that aims to cure distro hopping once and for all with its mind-blowingly innovative technology. Get this, BlendOS is Ubuntu, Fedora, Debian, Rocky Linux, and a total of 9 Linux distros all in one. You can literally install software from Arch, Fedora, Ubuntu, and other software repositories directly here. But that's not all. BlendOS is an immutable and reproducible distro that makes it extremely powerful. I was really intrigued by BlendOS, so I installed it on my machine and have been using it for some time now. It has repeatedly blown my mind. What this distro can do is really fascinating. So if you're a distrohopper like me and keep trying out various Linux distros, you'll definitely want to watch this video, as BlendOS might just as well end up being your favorite Linux distro, or a combination of Linux distros, because BlendOS is 9 Linux distros in one. Having a good knowledge of Linux commands and being comfortable using the terminal really broadens what you can do with Linux and what kind of experience you are going to get here. So if you're interested in leveling up your Linux game, definitely check out my course Linux Mastery Express, which is the fastest way to learn Linux and start using Linux like a pro. I'll teach you a set of commands that will give you the confidence to use Linux without even a graphical user interface. Then we'll dive deep and learn how to use the V editor and master shell scripting with real life examples. After teaching more than 100 students in person, I've curated this course with the top things that will level up your Linux skills the fastest. So if you're feeling like your Linux game is stuck in the same spot for too long and you're ready to take your Linux skills to the next level quickly, check out the link in the description below and get your Linux Mastery Express. We are running a massive 45% discount right now, so make use of it. BlendOS is a new and unique Linux distribution that blends together the best features of the top distros with the aim of creating the perfect Linux distribution. BlendOS itself is an Arch Linux based distro and it is immutable. BlendOS is created by Rudra Saraswat, the whiz developer behind major projects like Ubuntu Unity, UnityX, Ubuntu Web and more, and this may be his masterstroke yet. So what's so special here? What's the X factor with BlendOS? Actually, there are many things here that impress you and take you on a wild ride. First of all, it's the blend part of BlendOS that's mesmerizing. Seriously. BlendOS lets you add components and applications from other Linux distros like Ubuntu, Fedora, Rocky Linux, Kali Linux, Alma Linux, and a few other distros, just like how you'd normally install an app. No, we are not talking about virtualization here. The installed components integrate fully with the system and give out native performance. That's the crazy part. I absolutely love this. If you want to install a software from Fedora repositories, you can just run the dnf install command and it will download and install the software like you're on Fedora. The same goes for Ubuntu and many other distros. And since this is not virtualization but direct execution, the performance is top gear, just like apps installed on your normal system. This solves so many of the Linux world issues. You literally have access to the combined largest ever software repository of all time. Any software in a variety of version numbers. If you want the latest, get it from Arch user repositories. If you want a very stable version, get it from Ubuntu or Rocky Linux repositories. To the people that ask why there are so many Linux distros, couldn't everybody just pool their resources together and work on one distro? This is your answer. BlendOS is your all the Linux distros pooled together as one. BlendOS achieved this phenomenal accomplishment by using Docker and DistroBox technologies under the hood. With the BlendOS settings app, you get full control over how this works, and I love how the settings app simplifies everything. There's a lot of complexity going on under the hood, but the user sees a simplified and easy to understand options. That's how it should be. Let's jump in and see how to use this. Before we can go installing apps from other distros, you need to create a container using BlendOS settings. Select any distribution that you want here and give it a name. Here we get a healthy selection of distros. A variety of distros from different levels are given here to cater to users of all levels. Pick one and let the Docker image be downloaded. This might take some time based on your internet speed. This is a one-time operation for each distro. Once this is done, you can just click on the run button here, which will open a terminal in the newly installed containerized distro. Now a few things you should know. This terminal is basically Ubuntu now. You can run any command supported by Ubuntu. For example, we can do sudo apt update and then sudo apt install gimp and it will install gimp for us. This gimp integrates with the system fully and will be available for us in the app menu. It will run how you'd expect it to without any shortcomings. But this app is installed in the Ubuntu container without actually touching the main root file system. That's why we were not asked for a password. All the applications that are installed like this are maintained by their own containers but are available system-wide. In terms of isolation and integration, BlendOS is hitting that sweet spot. And since all the packages are confined within their own containers and are managed by each package manager, there is never any chance of package conflicts. Even if you install the same package using Ubuntu as well as say Fedora, both the packages will coexist on your system without conflicting with each other. You can go ahead and create any number of containers here. One cool option they have provided here is Kali Linux. Kali Linux is a system that comes loaded with tools and applications used in the hacking and penetration testing area. Kali is the de facto operating system for hackers. That's made available here as well. BlendOS lets you install apps from and get the best of Ubuntu, Arch, and Red Hat side of the Linux world, all in one system. This is going to be just the right thing for a big chunk of distro hoppers, and you can choose exactly what you want from any Linux distro and create your own personalized operating system. This concept is very powerful once you realize it. You can even make command associations here. Get this is pretty cool. You already know we can open certain container terminals here and run the commands supported by them. You can make those commands global by adding them here. For example, if I add the apt command here and import it from the Ubuntu container, I'll be able to run it in the BlendOS main terminal. This is so cool, especially for software developers. We'll be able to associate various tools and languages directly here. BlendOS developers know exactly what they are doing here. With BlendOS, all the Linux distros and their packages are at your fingertips, and the whole thing is amazingly executed. Major props to the BlendOS developers. BlendOS is an immutable Linux distro, meaning the core system itself is read-only and cannot be changed. This ensures that we have a super solid, dependable base for all the shenanigans happening in the containers above. You can install whatever you want and do whatever you want with the containers, but the main file system itself is completely protected. So now, an entire set of problems is completely eliminated. You're not gonna end up messing your system, you're not gonna break the core components. That's a whole world of problems eliminated from both the developers and the users' level of perception. Immutable distros are all the hype now because of these reasons. These distros are basically platforms where you get some work done and the core of the system is never exposed. So a bootable and workable system is there for you always. These immutable systems, they're never gonna give you up, they're never gonna let you down. But what if you want to install something to the system, maybe a driver? BlendOS has got a fix for that as well. It brings an overlay kind of system that lets you do modifications to the system and install any app or driver to the system itself. But these changes are made to an overlay and are applied only after a reboot. These are completely atomic in nature, so if anything goes wrong during an update, the entire modified overlay is dumped and you get the old fully working system. Even updates to the system are handled in the same way. Fully atomic. So if an update goes wrong, the entire updated overlay is ditched and the old system is kept intact. BlendOS also automatically updates the system. To install any driver, application or package to the system itself, you just need to run sudo system install package name. For example, sudo system install VLC. This will get the package from the Arch Linux repositories and install it in the system. BlendOS is also Arch based. While you can install any package from any Linux distro, the core, the immutable base of the system itself is based on Arch Linux. This ensures that you are getting the latest of all the packages and are running a fully today's system always. Just like its mama, BlendOS is a rolling release. Once you install the system, you never need to run updates or stuff like that. The system keeps itself updated all the time, so that one headache is gone. BlendOS is a cutting edge distro thanks to Arch. You'll always be ahead of the technological curve. Newest features, newest technologies, they'll all be available here always. And if you want to install apps and packages to the system itself, you'll be getting the latest versions. Initially, I thought that choosing Arch as the base for an immutable distro was kinda peculiar decision. But the developers were going for these advantages that Arch brings with itself. These advantages are undeniable and extremely valuable as far as desktop usage is concerned. Fantastic choice here. While choosing Arch as the base would have definitely made it trickier for developers, they have shown their brilliance by delivering a simple and polished system. There's a Linux distribution called NixOS, which has completely gone viral and is riding the hype train, especially in the software development scene because of few of its unique features. One such super cool feature is reproducibility. BlendOS 2, as you guessed by now, is completely reproducible system. This is mind-blowing, let's get into it. You can define an entire BlendOS system in a single file. Things like which desktop environment you want, should it use the light theme or dark theme, all the applications that you want installed on your base system. You can define these things in a text file. Then you can apply these things to a BlendOS system using one single command. Running user-kdir followed by the file name will modify your BlendOS system to be exactly as it is defined in this text file, and everything is done automatically. But that's not all. Even BlendOS specific things like which all containers are installed and even what applications are installed inside these containers are also definable in this file, and BlendOS creates the given containers and even installs the respective applications inside those containers. Really, this is pretty amazing and extremely convenient. You can just back up this configuration file and reproduce the system any number of times. You see how this can be invaluable for software professionals. Entire teams can be on the same page using this file, as the exact same system can be deployed on any number of machines with a single command. Reproducibility is a phenomenal innovation in any Linux distro, and it's just a great feature to have. Like there's not enough to brag about already, BlendOS comes with out-of-the-box support for Android apps. Now this is really sporty. It was working for me, I could install and open Android apps, but now it has stopped working for me. So I'll not get into it too much here. But basically, Android support is implemented using Waydroid here. You can install additional Android apps here using the Aurora Store, which is a Google Play Store alternative. There's also F-Droid support, which is an open source software store for Android. Both of these can be directly installed by clicking here. Additional apps can be installed from within these apps. If these work for you, great. If they don't, hard luck. But I'm sure Android apps are going to work fine in some future version of BlendOS, so hopeful about that. BlendOS has a great availability of desktop environments. GNOME, KDE Plasma, XFCE, Cinnamon, Debian Desktop, Mate and LXQT are officially available. For a relatively new Linux distribution, this is impressive. By capitalizing on Arch Linux phenomenal desktop environment availability, BlendOS provides its users with that variety. If you're impressed by what you saw till now, what BlendOS has to offer, then you can go ahead and play with BlendOS, and you can do it in any flavor you prefer. All the desktops come in fully stock formats, so that's another plus. There are no modifications or additional branding done by the BlendOS team here. Everything is full vanilla. BlendOS really surprised me with its performance. I'll be honest, I was kinda expecting at least some kind of performance overhead here, just because how BlendOS is designed from ground up and how it works. The applications that we install are going to be installed inside containers. So I was expecting some lags, some freeze-ups, but everything runs butter smooth here. All the applications, even those installed inside containers, run at full native speeds. I was really skeptical, so I tried a few games and the performance was again top-notch. This really confused me, so I started researching into it, and I was really left astounded by what I found out. BlendOS uses DistroBox technology to run apps from different distributions, and DistroBox runs or executes these programs on the main host kernel itself. And additionally, the additionally installed distro containers use the exact same kernel from BlendOS. This removes the huge overhead and translations required by virtual systems. Essentially, the containerized applications are running their binaries in the main system itself. That's why they perform at full native speeds. This is nothing like running different distros in virtual machines. Absolutely nothing like it. Now this is superb innovation on DistroBox's part. Bravo! Talking about the stability, we already saw how BlendOS is an immutable distro and has atomic updates. That brings about an elevated level of reliability, even when BlendOS is based on Arch Linux and receives updates on a regular basis. For day-to-day usage, BlendOS is going to be great, and you have that cutting-edge advantage where everything is new for you. In fact, because of the atomic updates, I would say BlendOS provides even better reliability than Arch Linux itself. Moving to the usability, there are rough edges, I won't deny that. But most of these unfamiliarities are just that, unfamiliarities. BlendOS is a new breed of operating system that's different, so it feels different. It's also in its infancy and many of us haven't experienced something like this yet, so there's that slight learning curve. Since the application installation process is exhaustive and you need to use the terminal to install apps, Linux newcomers will feel a slight friction. But once the developers implement GUIs for that, it'll be great. But intermediate and advanced Linux users will feel at home here and even enjoy it in fact. The entire blend fiasco here makes using your computer a more exciting affair. I kid you not. I never imagined I would get excited to install apps through the terminal again. It felt like 10 years ago when I first learned to install apps using the terminal. Man, I was so new to the Linux world. I was used to searching for and downloading exe files on the web and then using them to install apps on Windows. When I learned that on Ubuntu, you install apps by opening a terminal and running sudo apt install and the application name. Any application name that you type here would just automatically install. I remember like it was yesterday. My mind was blown to the kingdom come. Playing with BlendOS felt that way again. So yeah, BlendOS is exciting once you get an idea of how it all works here. Then it also gets simpler using BlendOS. Once you set up the containers and install all your applications, you can use BlendOS even for day-to-day usage. The ability to get apps from different distros makes BlendOS suitable for pretty much any use case. You can use this as your daily driver for your studies, work, software development, business, and anywhere else you can imagine. That kind of versatility is built into BlendOS by design. Gaming is another area where BlendOS has a lot of potential. While you can use various containers to set up gaming, the base Arch system too provides a great support and superb set of gaming tools. Newest of everything does come with huge benefits in the gaming department. Firstly, you can get a ton of Linux games from all the distros supported here. There are many super fun Linux games like Super Tuxcart, Xonotic, 080, Alien Arena, and many more. Enough to keep you occupied for months. And if you want to go a level higher, get Steam. Steam has a curated library of top quality Linux games like the Tomb Raider series, Hitman, Dota 2, CSGO, and many more. Additionally, using Proton, you can play thousands of Windows exclusives on Linux. The fun part, they install and run like they are Linux native, without the need for wine or play on Linux tinkering. Titles like GTA 5, Cyberpunk 2077, The Witcher 3, and many more amazing AAA titles run totally fine here. For these, install Steam on BlendOS using the system install command and then enable Steam Play in the settings and get gaming. Now just like BlendOS, Steam OS 2 is based on Arch Linux, so all the games are tested and optimized for pretty much the same system. So expect to get a very good mileage here. To see which games run fine using Steam Play, check out ProtonDB. All in all, gaming should be a blast on BlendOS. BlendOS comes with its homegrown installer. Jade is a simple and straightforward installer that gets you started with BlendOS within a matter of minutes. Once you are in a BlendOS live boot, launch the installer, select your language and location, the partition to install BlendOS, and that's that. The Blend installer does everything by itself and gives you a fresh installation in minutes. The developers have done a really good job on this installer. Jade is really simple and it doesn't make you feel like installing BlendOS is a big deal. I like the idea. You need to pay attention to the partitioning though. Using full disk is very simple. Select the disk you want to use, it'll completely erase the disk and automatically do all the partitioning magic and install the system. You can also manually partition the disk. You just need to pay a bit more attention here. Overall, installing and getting started with BlendOS is a breeze. By the way, there are also multiple versions of BlendOS available with a range of desktops. Check them out. All is not well in paradise. BlendOS is relatively a very new distribution and it shows. Linux distros are like wine, they get better with age. BlendOS has some rough edges, it still needs polishing up in many areas. As we already saw, Android apps worked sometime, didn't work most of the time, that needs sorting up. The containers that we create have very weird rules regarding super user privileges. The main root password is not the root password for these containers, but they prompt you to input the root password. You can see the dilemma here. I could get around by using the dot notation method for calling programs from containers, but that too sometimes doesn't work. I'm not complaining here, I absolutely understand the workload involved in creating and managing something like BlendOS. I'm just letting the users know what to expect here. There are kinks, which you need to know how to deal with, and figuring things out is going to take some time. BlendOS requires patience. BlendOS is very different from what I've seen yet. The principle is similar to Vanilla OS, but hands-on, Vanilla and BlendOS feel very different. These are a completely new breed of Linux distributions, that's for sure. BlendOS provides a very unique, powerful Linux experience. Knowing you have access to some of the largest software repositories from some of the biggest distros makes using BlendOS the Linux god mode. You can install software from Ubuntu repositories, from Fedora, from Debian, Rocky Linux, Alma, and more, all on the same system. And whatever you do, the core of the system is immutable, so you cannot pollute it. BlendOS hits a great stability to excitement ratio with its innovative approach to pretty much everything. Cherry on the cake, the whole thing is completely reproducible. Using a single text file, you'll be able to build a BlendOS pre-configured system pretty much infinite number of times. That's a backup method that I can get behind. While BlendOS is absolutely groundbreaking, no, I don't think everybody should switch to BlendOS. See, everybody doesn't need access to all the features that BlendOS provides. For most people, something like Ubuntu will be more than enough. For most software developers, Fedora or Arch will suffice. Not everybody needs everything. BlendOS is for the outliers. People that I don't know whether they need but want everything. BlendOS is for people who, as DistroWatch puts it, want to put the fun back into computing. But yeah, BlendOS is innovative, feature-packed, and a member of the next generation. BlendOS is a fantastic idea, superbly executed. I'm really hopeful about a great future for this distro. Definitely give it a try. The download links are given in the description below. If you enjoyed this video, definitely consider subscribing to the channel and leave me a big thumbs up. And if you're interested in leveling up your Linux skills, the link to my course Linux Mastery Express is given in the description below. It's designed to teach you Linux and take you from zero to hero within the shortest amount of time possible. You'll be using Linux like a pro within a matter of hours, so definitely check that out. Alright, if you had fun with BlendOS in this video, you'll absolutely love this fantastic distro called NixOS. It's pretty amazing, so don't miss that. Alright, this is Linux Techs signing out.